Hey everyone, I'm Professor Foss. You can just call me Foss, and I'm so excited to be your professor for this semester. I live in Tulsa, but I was in Magnolia a few years back. I began teaching at SAU. I had so much fun. It's like, let's make it an online course. So let's dig in and see what we come up with. Fun fact, this is my second time of recording this. I just got done and realized the microphone was not recording. So we're gonna do it again. That's the fun part of film. Can always redo it. Um, you can peruse some of this on your own. Just little introductions about me. I've been in the film industry since I was 18. I homeschooled so that I could start working on films. I worked at CBS in high school, and I love film. I worked in Hollywood for a while. Worked in Texas. Came to Arkansas. Actually, it was just a temporary stop to make money before I went to grad school in California. But I ended up going to UCA instead and started a production company, and I've got to do some really great stuff in TV, film over the years. But then I've been at 7 universities as well. So I enjoy teaching, I enjoy filming, and I hope you have a great time learning about film production. All right, so this is the video that I'll be emailing it to you, but I'll also put it here and on module one. So if you need to go back for whatever reason. So the best way to get a hold of me is I adjuncted a couple other schools as well. Um, so I try to respond 24 to 48 hours. Just be patient with me. I also teach in the evenings, so I stay pretty busy. But that said, I generally check it every day in the morning and the afternoon. So bear with me on responses. If it seems slow, that's why. Be professional in your email. Dear Professor Foss, dear Foss, what do you need help with? How can I help? Sincerely, your name. I will sometimes get emails that, like what I miss in class. No, hello, no, good morning. I look at college as practice for your professional life. So you can kind of think me as a boss, if you will. And sometimes that's easier than professor. Um, but the other is if you start falling behind, if life is getting too much, don't wait to contact me. We'll schedule a Zoom, or if I'm on the road or something like that, we can always just do a phone call that lets me know where you're at, what's going on. Because if I start to see zeros, piling up, and then you're like, oh yeah, life's been crazy. I've been gaming till 4 a.m. and blah blah blah. That's hard to make up. But if things are going on in life, I get it. Stuff happens all the time. I caught my senior year of college, about 2 months before graduation, I think, I caught mono. So I know what it's like to be panicking because, sicknesses come up or issues in your family or whatever. You don't need to always go in detail. Documentation does help. If there is an illness, just something from your doctor. It doesn't have to say what's going on. Just please excuse so and so for or whatever, or extension, whatever you need. I'm pretty approachable. Um, the tech, we'll get into what I recommend for editing, but you need a camera of some kind with HD capability. That could be your phone. Make sure with your phone you don't film this way. We're going to film that way. Um, and yeah, just the other, word processing. I believe that comes, with your that SAU provides that for you. Different file types that are supported. Uh, Basically, Word docs, links is kind of how I'd like you to turn stuff in, as opposed to just uploading your video by itself. Make sure that you're participating. Like this week, we'll have a discussion, which is just take a moment to introduce yourself to the class and to me in a couple of sentences. Tell me why you're taking this course, what you hope to gain. You can even add in your favorite movie. So it's a pass fail thing, but you have until the 25th to go ahead and again, it just kind of even though we're online, it kind of makes it a little bit more connected, a little bit more community, that we're all in this together. Um, and it helps me to know what kind of films students like. Um, Here's just an academic calendar for you to know what's going on and when it's going on. All right, syllabus. The main things you can look over this on your own. A lot of it's pretty boilerplate of our learning goals. Um, I not only want you to learn good filmmaking skills and learning about films, but becoming a more well-rounded future employee somewhere, or working on your soft skills of just good organization, things like that. So we're kind of going to learn a lot. Please read all that. Um, you can kind of see what the goals are and things like that. But the more probably part you're interested in is there's no book that I require anymore. What I do ask is there'll be some films that I will have you stream. You may need to rent them or buy them. I do look for what's free, and if you may have them on streaming services that are already being paid for. So I try and keep that in mind. But since there is no book, and there's really no required subscription anymore, even though I have that under required, I have some workarounds for you. What I would recommend is you get a hard drive to store all your footage on, so that it's not just backed up and it's not just on one computer, it's backed up somewhere else. So let's say you're in the middle of editing your film and your computer completely crashes or it breaks or something like that, and you've lost all your footage and all your editing. If you have everything backed up somewhere, you'll be safe. So that definitely happens. Um, Also, if you want, talk to Dr. Coppersmith. There should still be a few cameras that you can check out, I believe. Um, but a lot of students, I think, just elect to use their phone, which is fine. Some own their own cameras. That's fine as well. Grading policies. Again, everything will be turned on online. I expect it to be turned in when it's said. I generally don't accept late work. Um, there is also an element of my expertise coming into play with the grading. If you've filmed something and you think it's great, and I think it's technically or lacking in some way, you can lose points in that way. But I try to be understand, like, obviously I understand this is a lot of first time people have been filming things, so I'm not looking at it with the same eye as I would a professional filmmaker right now. But I also know effort, and I can see that, and really that's what I'm wanting to see. Due dates are the due dates. So I have been lenient in the past, but for this course, I can't be as much unless you have an excused absence or you've gotten a hold of me and without abusing my generosity, could I get a couple day extension? I might say yes, but I'll start you at one grade lower. If you tried to throw a Hail Mary in that something was due on Monday and you turned it in Wednesday, it's going to be a zero. Again, unless you've been with me, unless you've contacted me, unless you've worked it out, I can't I can't give you more of an advantage over other students. If life's getting in the way, again, get a hold of me, and not after the fact. Get a hold of me before the fact. You should know when due dates are, and so that's on you. The one area that I wouldn't call tricky, but you need to stay on top. If you are an athlete and you're traveling or something like that, you do get 2 days, but you need to email me ahead of time so that I know. If for some reason you forget, I need you to email me and CC your coach so that way I know, yes, this is where you were. University sanctioned events fall under the uh, same category if you get those 2 days, but again, let me know ahead of time. If there's illness, emergency in the family, legitimate thing, try and get documentation. I know different circumstance that may be harder. Schedule a meeting with me and we will figure it out. And then there's example of how to handle it if you need it. Quality of work. Sometimes if you're consistently turning in D level work, like the answers might be correct, but maybe you're not doing the following, like keeping the font margins and format and the size accurate and consistent. If I see a lot of what looks like copy and paste or things like that, I become suspicious. You want to just look professional in how you're handing things in. I'm more likely to recommend a student who's professional in their work over a good filmmaker. If somebody were to come to me and say, I need a student worker for something, I'm going to go with the good student over the good filmmaker. If you can be both, great. Um, but a company would rather work with somebody who's structured, dedicated, and works hard because you can learn the skills of filmmaking. It's harder to learn that innate uh, desire to do your best. Okay. Don't plagiarize. Don't copy and paste from online. You can work with somebody and work together on things, that's fine. Put stuff in your own words, though. Keep your work clean, organized. Do not use AI. Do not use AI for any reason. Do not use it to check your grammar. So, Grammarly will give an AI report. If you use it, generally speaking, you'll get a 0 for the first, and I'll remove you from class for the second. Don't do it. I know everybody tries it, but just don't do it. Please don't do it. Don't take a picture of handwritten work and try and turn that in. It's a mosquito. I don't. I don't want that. Make sure you read all the instructions carefully, and look for the specific guidelines, things like that. Try not to be easier for you to see. Um, Try and keep your excuses to a minimum. I know life happens, but I can tell the difference between somebody's overworked and somebody's up till 5 gaming. Um, Always do your best. Again, my email policy. I do also suffer from chronic Lyme disease, so if you know what that is, um, it's not a fun way to live. But if I get a cold or something now, we're kind of coming up in cold and flu season. I am pretty hit hard. Um, so if things like that come and I'm like I'll be out for the next few days, I'll try and let everybody know. Don't post anything without anybody's permission on social media. So if you did a video, of your classmates, make sure you have their permission to post it. Then any videos that you create must be appropriate, and professional. Um, it cannot disparage the university, the staff, students, or classmates specifically to SAU. So an example would be I've had a student make a documentary about how they didn't like the cafeteria food. The administration really didn't like that. Um, you must have permission before publishing things. I'm not responsible if you publish something and the school doesn't like it and I didn't know about it. It's not on me. It's on you. Um, I will share what you create with classmates and other professors, though. So be aware of that. Sometimes there'll be films like, for instance, The Graduate will be one that we watch, The Royal Tenenbaums. They're rated R. If you have a giant moral objection, let me know. I'm not out to insult anybody's faith or beliefs, but at the same time, we're at a state university, so please take that in mind. Technical issues. If you're unable to upload or submit work electronically, let's say Blackboard's being goofy or something like that, what I would do is email it to me before the deadline and just say something's going wrong with Canvas and send me a screenshot of any error codes that are going on. Now, the reason you don't want to do that often, it's very easy for me to lose track of your work if it's being submitted by email. Again, I do multiple classes at multiple universities. So when you turned in assignment number 13 2 months ago and it's still showing as a 0 because it automatically puts a 0 in Blackboard when it's late, um, it gets hard to find where that is. So do not make emailing me your assignments your main way of going and trying to get something in. However, if you want to assure me that you got the work done, but there is a technical issue, email it. And then when you resolve the issue, you can go ahead and upload it. This filming restrictions, I've actually had to add an addendum because I caught this when I was recording the first video. That is, sometimes I try to balance students' free speech with decorum a little bit for this class. Again, this is not a class where you're going to make Lawrence of Arabia or your big first film that's going to make you millions of dollars, right? This is showing that you technically and proficiently know how to make a film. Now, if you can entertain us with humor or whatever along the way, that's great. So, overly violent, overly sexual, over anything that's discriminatory, those are things we don't want in this class. And again, I'm not trying to censor. I'm just trying to say now is not the right time to make whatever it is you want to make. Do not bring weapons on campus for any reason. Police are now taught to shoot first, ask questions later. It's the world we live in, I'm sorry to say. So, the other one is just any kind of attack on women, or things like that. You want to be very careful of. Again, I if you're not sure, just ask. I had to ask, or I had to make an addendum because, as you'll see, it says videos are tolerated and they're not. So I'll show you where I keep addendums. Your evaluation. This gives you an idea of what your workload. Final production video. You'll do an experimental video, and then just a simple hero goal obstacle video. You have about between 10. Get out of here, mosquito. You go squash now. Module assignments, you'll kind of get a sense of what they're like. There's between 10 to 20. And the reason for that is I changed one major assignment that I've kind of always incorporated in all my classes, and you guys might be the first time that I am changing that. So there might be more smaller assignments since there's not kind of a main one, but we'll get to that. You'll have 2 edits as well to kind of, this one will be to just practice editing, something that's not a narrative. And then here is a narrative, a scene from a horror film that's cheesy and fun and awesome. You'll love it. Okay, and then just know that it's subject to change, but you'll be notified if there's changes. So please look that over, make sure you understand it. Here's that addendum. So like today, I noticed it should say it's not tolerated. So if I need to make corrections or add things to the syllabus as the semester goes, there's always some Weisenheimer that figures out some loophole in something of how to get work done, and it's like, oh, it doesn't say that in the syllabus. So if I have to address it or something comes up, that's where we can do it. There's my email should you need to email me. If it comes down to it and we need to make a phone call, you're having issues with technical issues with your camera or things like that, we can connect that way as well. So please look all this over. I'm going to add the video there when I get done. And then I also, as the semester goes, I'll kind of move this to the lower down. You will also have in here, so this is that major assignment I was talking about. I've decided to just make it extra credit. So it used to be that you'd have to watch 20 films a semester and journal about them. So it was a 20-page assignment. I used to be really tough. Part of it is then I have to grade 20 pages of, I think there's 16 students at the end of the semester. So I was going to do 10, and really I want you focused on your productions. But essentially, so it's written as though it is an assignment when really it's extra credit. So I didn't change some of the terminology, but I just kind of made this a last minute decision. It's due at the end of the semester, the 5th, or due by then if you want to use it. Really what you're going to do is watch films you have not seen before, write 1 page equal to 250 words. You get 10 points per film. Use the vernacular and terminology we use in class, like cameras, angles, lighting, full page, double spaced. You don't have to worry about some of this stuff. Again, that I had on there, but what I really want you to focus on is explaining the terms that you noticed that we talk about in class that you notice in the film. So camera angle, lighting, sound, music, character, costume, production design, anything like that. What I don't want is a summary of the film. You know, Forrest Gump is a movie about a guy on a bench who learns ping pong, then goes to war, and then marries Jenny, and then Jenny dies, and then he's got a son, and that's I've seen the movie. Okay, how did they shoot it that worked? So use those terms, and then also you can talk about what you liked about it, what you didn't like, why it worked, and things like that. Don't plagiarize anything like that. Turn it in as a PDF. Keep it nice, neat, and organized, and you can get up to 50 points extra credit. So invariably, somebody's going to ask me uh, for extra credit, and there you go. Resources, camera and export settings. So you need to make sure whatever camera you're using can shoot 24 frames per second. These videos will help you get to those settings. And we always want to make sure we're in a 16:9 aspect ratio. So that is shooting this way, not this way. If you do shoot in 4K, like I think on my iPhone, 24 frames per second can only be shot in 4K. That's fine as well. In fact, that gives you some advantages. It just means that when you get to, if you think of 16:9, you're going to learn about aspect ratios. It's just the size of the screen. So, TVs, phones, we look in 16:9. 4K is bigger, right? So, what that allows you to do is you can kind of squish it down. The picture is going to be better, and you can get different angles from it. So, watch these to make sure you can get to that format. And when I say 24 frames per second, if you've ever like done where you draw like little stick figures in the corner and then you flip it and it looks like they're moving, that is frame rate. So cinema shoots in 24 frames per second. That means the camera is taking 24 pictures a second. And that creates the illusion of movement when they all are stacked on top of each other and like flipping through. So like the news or commercials or sporting events or soap operas, they look different because the more frames there are per second, like 30 or 60 or 120, it's going to look more crisp, and it's going to look different. Film has a little bit of what's called motion blur, and it just looks more cinematic. Excuse me. So look that over and make sure you have a camera or access to one that can shoot that way. When we get to editing, this is a good resource for your export settings and aspect ratio if you're having issues. I will bring that up into the module for editing, so you know. This is Premiere Pro if you want to get the professional software and learn because you intend to go into editing of some kind professionally. I would recommend, I think it's $20 a month. Just make sure you cancel it when you're done. Otherwise, you'll just get that reoccurring bill. DaVinci Resolve is free, and you can set it up so that it looks like Premiere Pro in its interface. So editing softwares are usually very similar, but the layout and the interface is what could be different. So you can choose. I would recommend either of those. There is one more free one, but it leaves a watermark. It's maybe a little bit easier, but why go with ease for this and learn these. But now when I give editing demonstrations, I'm using Premiere. This is an app for you can put on your phone. This is the Apple version of this, the Blackmagic camera. It's free, and what it does is it unlocks the camera on your phone so that you have more control over the settings and can control exposure, things like that. Please go ahead and put that on your phone if you're planning on using it. That way you're not just relying on the phone to do all of it for you. All right, so there's some resources. Module 1. Typically, I will always put the module overview each week. So kind of each module is about 2 weeks long. Kind of depends on the assignment, maybe a little bit more. And then as we're getting close to the end, I'll open up a new module. Excuse me. I don't want to overburden you by opening like 4 or 5 of them. Some students like to go faster. That's fine. They just enjoy the process, really absorb what's there. If I start to see, maybe there's 2 weeks for a module, but most everybody's got it done in a week, then I'll go ahead. But if I'm in there, it's close to 2 weeks and nobody's turning things in, I don't really want to overburden you. But be disciplined, self-disciplined, set times that you work for this class, like whatever it might be, 2 to 5 on Thursdays is when you get this done. That's what I'd highly recommend. The overview, we're going to be working on analysis, narrative, and the camera. By the end of this, you should be able to explain how film is viewed and impacts an audience, demonstrate the elements of narrative, be able to properly set a camera to capture correctly exposed video. All right, so lectures are here. There are the links to them. Disregard if there is any reference to an assignment. There shouldn't be. Um, but if there is something specific, please just disregard it. You have on analysis, why do we watch film, on narrative, and then the camera. Here's some PDFs. That way, if you need to go back when you're doing an assignment and it's easier to just flip through the PDF than listen to the lecture again, then they're there for you. And you're able to get to the links to rewatch them. Sometimes I have links in there. All right. And then your assignments, kind of like the discussion above, but this one you're going to film. Who are you? Uh, what your favorite film is and why? What are your goals for this class? I just like putting a face to a name, so I want you to record in a well lit area. Make sure I can both see and hear you, and that way I know you're not just a name on a screen. It's a little bit nicer. Um, Assignment one. After you learn about the camera, you're going to tell a story in just 10 to 15 pictures. Okay. So you'll learn about wide shots, medium, close, high angle, low angle, canted, center framing, all sorts of stuff. And you're just going to tell a story just using pictures, right? So here's an example. Someone is a door-to-door salesperson. Their goal is to get to the door. On their way, they are chased by a dog, sprayed with a water hose, and finally fall in mud. The homeowner sees what they're going through and buys their product. All right, it's cheesy, but you can kind of see. And the idea is you can pull a frame out of a movie and should be able to kind of tell what's going on. Where is the character placed? What is the framing? The mise en scène, as they said, the placement of things within the shot. So you can kind of see uh, elements of isolation and loneliness and fear. When we use a high angle shot and we look down on somebody. You can, when you get that app on your phone, you can add this grid in there that's called the rule of thirds. The idea is where the lines intersect, that is where our eye is drawn. That's where important information should go. So you can use the rule of thirds. You could try things like center framing, like keeping your subject in the center, and see what happens. So you can see some examples here from former students. If they can't find actors, I've seen them use all sorts of things, stuffed animals, real animals, Legos, condiments. I mean, I've seen it all. But it doesn't have to be much. It could be simple, and just look for different angles. So if all of them kind of are looking the same, um, you know, add a little variety to it. All right, so assignment one, assignment two, you're going to watch the movie Rudy. This will correspond to the narrative lecture. So what I would do, and you can go and rent it there if you can find it for free. It might be a site that has commercials, which I generally don't like. I think they interrupt the flow, but if you want to save some money, feel free. I would download this or copy and paste it onto a Word doc. These questions kind of go with the flow of the film as far as start to finish. Maybe the first couple you'd have to go back, but I would look these over and then answer them as you're watching the film. Of course, you need to watch the lecture first, but you could be working on this as you're watching, and pretty self-explanatory. Assignment 3, you're going to just watch this video on aspect ratio. I know I brought that up today. Again, that is, which way are we holding the camera? We always want to be holding it that way, not that way. But you'll learn about it. Short, simple video. Please write in clear academic sentences, not like one-word responses or phrases. And this just lets me know that you watched it and understood it. All right, so for this module, everything is due on the 5th. besides the Who Are You? Those are due in just a couple days. Um, and then all of these are 20 points each. So that gives you an idea of the flow of the class, and how things go. Again, please email me if you have any questions, concerns, thoughts. I'm always here. If there's anything that you need clarity to, please let me know. If for some reason I ever have things where they're not visible to students, that is one of the things with Canvas where I can sometimes kind of, oh yeah, that's not visible, because they kind of don't always make it easy to just do them all at once. So yeah, get a hold of me if you need anything. We'll get through this semester. We'll have fun in the process. All right. Have a great semester. God bless everyone.